and welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop. I'm your host Jen, and I'm very excited to talk about today's episode. But before we begin, there will be spoilers as we talk about major events that unfold within the story. In addition, each episode will have a list of trigger warnings in the description. Be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast, and show your support on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content.
And welcome back to another episode of the Book Stop Podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina, and who do we have here today?
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm kind of nervous, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, you've never done a podcast before.
Yeah, this is my first episode, so please be gentle. I'm excited, but I'm real nervous to be here.
This is my first episode, too.
Oh, I thought this was your 85th episode.
Well, so this is the 85th episode of the Book Stop Podcast, but this is my first episode.
So this is gonna be rough.
Yeah, probably. But I'm glad that you're all here with us. Jen, what book did you bring? And why did you bring this particular book?
So I brought He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. So we did first of the series, She Who Became the Sun, last year. Mm-hmm. And so we got to finish out the duology. She Who Became the Sun is probably one of my top favorite, I would say probably top 3. Like, we're really narrowing it down.
So, Jen, do you want to play a little game for me?
For you?
Yeah,
No.
For me. So...
Yeah, I'll play a game.
Okay, I'm going to need you to recap this book in 30 seconds or less. Your time starts now.
Chu, that became the Radiant King at the end of the first book. And it's about her traveling through this land and kind of wreaking havoc as she goes. Nothing's off the table for her to reach her goals of becoming the Great Khan. And we're introduced some new characters from the first book. So we just get to follow a few different characters throughout. We just get to watch a woman in power keep that power.
Chat, can we get a sleigh?
Chat, can we get a sleigh in the chat?
Alright, for those of you who have not read, I'm going to give a quick summary. How much would you give to win the world? Zhu, the Radiant King, is riding high after her victory that tore southern China from its Mongol masters. Now she burns with a new desire, to seize the throne and crown herself emperor. But Zhu isn't the only one with imperial ambitions. Her neighbor in the south, the courtesan, Madame Zhang, wants the throne for her husband, and she's strong enough to wipe Zhu off the map. To stay in the game, Zhu will have to gamble everything on a risky alliance with an old enemy, the talented but unstable eunuch general Ouyang, who has already sacrificed everything for a chance at revenge on his father's killer, the Great Khan. Unbeknownst to the Southerners, a new contender is even closer to the throne. The scorned scholar Wang Baozhang has maneuvered his way into the capital, and his lethal court games threaten to bring the empire to its knees. For Baozhang also deserves revenge, to become the most degenerate Great Khan in history, and in doing so make a mockery of every value his Mongol warrior family loved more than him. All the contenders are determined to do whatever it takes to win, but when desire is the size of the world, the price could be too much for even the most ruthless heart to bear. Yeah, so first I want to give out a little warning. We practiced, we read the book, we read the first book, I listened to the audio book. I will try to pronounce the names the same every time, and correctly, but I apologize if we do not.
Yeah, well, we have a pronunciation list in front of us as well, so...
Yeah, but we might say it slightly differently every time, and I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite quote from this book?
Now, that's a loaded question, and I don't appreciate it.
I'm so sorry.
I have a lot of quotes. I'm gonna scatter them throughout the podcast so it's not so overwhelming, but I do have a lot of quotes, and the ones I'm gonna talk about right now are in no particular order. These are just some that stood out to me the most that I was just like, okay, great, because they are absolutely amazing. And I know we talked about it a lot in the last one, and we'll talk about it again later. But so this is with Oyeon and Ju as they are in that kind of like, it's like a brothel. So Oyeon says, "How could it not bother you to be treated like that? He didn't even greet you like a human." And then Ju said, "It does bother me. Do you think it didn't? Nobody feels great about being hated. But this is who I am. It took me a long time to become this person. Someone who not only can, but will get what they want. And now that I'm who I need to be, I'm not going to hide myself so others don't turn away from me or spit on me. If the world's judgment is the price for what I want, then it's a price I'm willing to pay." And then it goes on a little bit more, and then Ju says softly, "I'm willing and I'm strong enough to do it, but it can be hard to swallow the insult and endure the world's contempt. I think you know what that's like, General." I want to talk about Oyeon and Ju a lot because I think the correlations that we get with the two of them in this book is outstanding. And so I have a lot of quotes about that. I just really like that because it opens Ju's character so much, even though we've been with her since the first book, more heavily in the first book too. I feel like this one we didn't have as much of her point of view in it because we like kind of grew up with her. Yeah. It opens up her character so much in this book. And we're able to like see things that do bother her, and especially towards the end of the book when things started to actually affect her. It's really cool to see that character development where she kind of digresses instead of improves, which is a great storytelling ability.
Slowly falls apart, basically.
For good reasons, obviously. But
my first favorite quote, it is from Bao Zhang. A lot of my favorite quotes actually are, which I found interesting. But I think that we're in his point of view a lot. It is, "Who dared imagine a happy ending? Only someone who had been treated too tenderly their whole lives, so they'd never had to learn how the world worked." I think that this quote like really sums up basically every character in the story. Mm-hmm. None of them have lived perfect, beautiful, easy lives. And I just liked watching him see someone who seemed like they really hadn't lived, I guess, through any, like, struggle or roughness.
Like sacrifice?
Yeah, sacrifice. Because he never imagined his ending to be happy. Of course, he wanted things, and he did get those things, for the most part, that he wanted, but he never thought that he would be happy in it. It was just something he needed to do.
No, definitely. I think it's interesting because not everyone in the story obviously gets a happy ending. Mm-hmm. And even the endings that they get, I wouldn't necessarily say they were happy. Chu's ending isn't necessarily happy. She got what she wanted, but she lost a lot of things along the way and she had to sacrifice. But coming from him, who did kind of grow up, in a sense, a little sheltered compared to, like, other people. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're comparing Chu and Bao Zhang together, I would say that his upbringing wasn't as bad as hers. Mm-hmm. But in the end, they kind of come together and have a very codependent, I guess, relationship. So my next quote. It hurts so much. When I tell you that when Juda died, I cried with tears streaming down my face. The thing is like, we knew that he was going to die. We predicted in the last book. It is an obvious choice. Mm-hmm. If they didn't choose that, I would have been very concerned.
I would have been so confused.
I would have been like, that's weird. Why would you not sacrifice him? Yeah. So this is a two-parter, but it's correlating to each other. This is after Juda dies, and Chu is like coming to terms with it, but not really. And it says, Chu had always known that she could lose Juda. Every time he led her forces out to battle, she faced the possibility. She thought of it as a consciously made decision. She thought of herself as ready. It was only now, faced with the reality of it, that she realized she'd never truly believe it could happen. Someone she loved was being undone, and the sight of it was undoing herself. He was slipping away, being eaten by the pain, and she couldn't bear it. She was holding him in one hand, and her fate in the other. And even as they pulled in different directions, even as they pulled her in half, she couldn't let either of them go. Oh my God. That was the line that I cried at. That's when I started crying. When Judah was sacrificing himself, I didn't cry until and that line got me. The one where it's like, I'm holding on him with one hand and my fate in the other, and I can't let go of both. Because that is the ultimate sacrifice right there. Her losing her brother was obviously devastating. It was a pivotal point in the story because she's gone through this entire thing without she made sacrifices, of course, but she went through it and not have to lose someone she lost battles here and there, but she never had to lose something so big in her life. She believed in herself so much. She believed in her fate so much that she did make this conscious decision to send Judah out there because she always knew he would come back. Even all the times where, he freaking dies. He literally dies.
He died 3 times.
Yeah, he died 3 times for her by drowning. And he kept coming back because she believed. She willed it, is what she said. I willed him to come back. And he did. I could go on and on about it, but I won't. I just love that line so much because fate is such a huge part of this story. And it's a huge part of Chu's character. Her entire plot.
I will say I listened to that while I was at work. And I was fully prepared for it to make me sad. It wasn't any less sad. And the fact that almost refreshing a little bit to see her care. Mm-hmm. Because other people had died all the time and it wasn't a big enough loss for her to really care or show it at least or let it affect her. Mm-hmm. So it was honestly a little nice to see her be human and feel the loss and let it absolutely destroy her. And of course, that is her brother. None of her actual brothers she ever cared about. This was her brother. This was the first person she loved, basically. Mm-hmm. So
the first person that accepted her, too.
The first person who was just yeah, whatever. You do you.
It was refreshing. It was nice to see her be human and be touchable. Because for a while, she felt so untouchable. Yeah. That you're oh, I'm not worried about anything. When she killed those 10,000 men from a landslide, I was just oh yeah, that's totally fine.
She can just do literally anything, and she's fine.
Because Ma and Judah are the 2 people that are, if you touch them, you touch her soul, type thing. As bad as it sounded, it was nice that both of them were kind of thrown in that path of fate, where she had to make decisions, and it ripped open her character so much, and I just love it so much. So the other quote I have, it had always been so easy to separate herself from the miseries of others. Their pain had always been something she watched. She had never believed that to witness someone else's pain might be more unbearable than anything produced within her own body. But what she was feeling now was the pain of the person who had been beside her the longest, who had accepted and protected her from the beginning. It was the pain of someone she loved. It was drilling into her indefensible heart, destroying her even as it was destroying him. If she held Judah's pain in her own body, if she felt it like he did, didn't that mean that they were both fighting against it? Wasn't he sharing her strength of will to live when she was strong enough for 2 people, strong enough for 1,000, strong enough to defy the world? That's literally what we just said.
Yeah.
So good, dude.
So good. That is a really cool way to have done her character and not what I expected. Mm-hmm. And I was very pleasantly surprised by it. Instead. Yeah. Kind of to go off of that, my next quote, it almost kind of is in the same realm. To be in contact with someone else's pain was to risk feeling it yourself, unless you severed the connection by hating them. When most people's greatest desire was to avoid pain, of course they would rather hate. I like that. Because she chose to love, and then she chose to feel the pain instead, in that scenario. But in this whole book, there is a lot of revenge, a lot of double-crossing. I mean, people not caring about each other, using each other to get what they want.
Political power back and forth,
And of course, I don't think that all of them hated each other as deeply, but to feel the pain, it was going to slow them down from what they wanted, and so to hate people was easier. I really like that quote because I think it's also this was set in 13th century China, but it's also kind of realistic. I think a lot of people still feel like this. You'll always meet people who would rather just be kind of a hater and rude and not want to let people in because they don't want to deal with all the emotions and all the other things that come with it.
Yeah, because caring for people, there's more vulnerability in it than there is to hate somebody. You throw their cares out, and you don't care about what they do or who they are. So when you are in a situation like this, killing them is a lot easier because if you grow to love somebody, you grow attachment, and that anchors you somewhere. And Zhu is so bent on going forward in life and getting exactly what she wants. Like, she's literally killed children.
It was like no problem.
And she even mentions that. She's like, I literally killed the Prince of Radiance. I did things that a normal person wouldn't do. And she recognizes that. And it takes her so long because in the moment she's like, oh, I just want to get where I need to be. She's like tunnel vision. And then as these things happen and she's kind of realizing, she's like, I did lose all those men. I did do this. I did do that. And it's kind of like this recognition sets in her. And she's like, yes, at the end she does become emperor, but at what cost? At the end of all of that, was it worth it? And then that's literally what she says in the book. She's like, was all of this worth it?
Yeah.
And Ma is like, even she's like, if you're doing all of this, is it going to be worth it at the end? What if you didn't become the emperor? She was like, wait, hold on, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that.
I thought that was an option. I'm going to be.
Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna be the emperor.
There's no other choice.
And like that kind of dedication is what we need in life now.
Yeah.
Is like women need that kind of dedication to like no matter what in a man-dominated world, this woman comes on top.
Vulnerability of loving and caring about other people is basically everyone's undoing in this book. The message is not don't love and don't be vulnerable.
It's almost hinting that love is inescapable. Because even though Unyan, who tried so hard not to love, it hid underneath his skin, but it was there.
Yeah.
And Baozhan hated his brother, but he loved his brother. It's inescapable. Okay, I have another quote. This is at the end when Ma is infiltrating the Great Khan's castle. And at this point, this is after Baozhan is the Great Khan now. So she's going there. She's his concubine, or like, what do they call him? A consort. Yeah, the consort. So, you know, she's been spending a lot of time with him, but she's doing that for Zhu, because Zhu is also there as a servant for the Empress, kind of like a handmaid type deal. And Ma had mentioned, she says, don't ask me to do this for you. Don't ask me. This is after the unfortunate of the pin in the hair, and the Empress had beaten Ma into like an inch of her life. Of course, Zhu feels awful. This is her wife that she loves very deeply, so she's just feeling awful about it. And they find themselves on the Peloton as they're walking back to her room, and she just keeps apologizing. She's like, all this pain, all this suffering, I'm so sorry. And Ma just is very quiet and says, do you know why I said to you back in Songdu, don't ask? You've been thinking of my pain and suffering and Jadu's as the price you've extracted from us for being emperor. That's why you feel that if you don't gain the throne, or if gaining the throne could never be worth our pain, then it would be a failure. But you didn't make us. That's why I didn't want you to ask me to help you. Didn't you wonder why Jadu never asked you to stop, even when he had his doubts about your methods? He didn't want to risk you ordering him to continue. He wanted to continue of his own free will, even as he knew it would be his death. Our suffering isn't a payment, it is a gift. We gave it to you so you could achieve your fate. And your fate isn't just the throne or greatness. It's greatness enough to change the world. It's just that, that made me cry a little bit too when I read it. That dedication to somebody. For Ma, I feel like it was almost worse because she didn't know Zhu her entire life, but still fell in love with her because of the ability to live her life that she gave. And she didn't get to spend time with her on the road because she had to stay in the cities that they were in. So for her to still make these sacrifices purely because she saw how true Zhu was in her fate, like, it's beyond romance at that point. It's just pure, unadulterated respect to each other.
Ladies,
get you a girl.
That would drown the world for you. So this is in what I thought to be the craziest part of this book. It is when Bao Zhang is killing Ouyang. His grief was as large as the world. He could feel the blackness leaching out of him as he lost control. It was drowning the world and himself along with it. He had gained the throne and his revenge upon the dead, but none of it mattered because Isin was gone and there was nothing he could do to bring him back. I love this entire scene. I think it was probably my favorite scene in the whole book. I was really surprised that he who drowned the world was not Ouyang. That was not Ouyang. It was Bao Zhang. And they said it another time earlier about him drowning the world. There was another little snippet of it when it was in his point of view. And I was like, I did not expect that. And then this point, it just totally made sense. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing as you sacrifice so much that by the time you get there, it means nothing because you've lost everything that mattered. Mm-hmm. So even though he hated his brother and he hated his family because they never loved him enough, he loved his brother and he was deeply saddened by him being gone this entire book. And this was kind of like he was having a total freak out moment because he just killed Ouyang. Ouyang had just killed Khan. So he was now the great Khan. And he's just like, my brother's dead. Like, he doesn't even care. Mm-hmm. He got what he wanted, but again, at what cost? Obviously, the main theme of the book is power, but at what cost?
At what cost, yeah. I had a feeling that it was going to be Bao Zhang because I feel like the way that, especially towards the end, he just, like, didn't care anymore. Like, there wasn't that drive where Bao Zhang had such a drive. He was a snake in the bush the entire time, where Ouyang was kind of, like, left to Zhu's mercy. Like, he really couldn't do anything, so I felt like there was a little bit pulled back. Zhu and Ouyang's, like, path as they go into their weird relationship. There was no, like, drive where it was the point where I was like, okay, this guy wants to drown the world. Where Bao Zhang had that drive and had that constant shadow over him. Mm-hmm. I was surprised that we got so much between everybody, even the women, like Lady Qi and the Empress. Like, I was very surprised that we got so much from other people. Shu was the main character of the first book. Mm-hmm. I thought we would get a lot more from the he of this. So I thought it would be a lot more of Bao Zhang. But yeah, it makes sense though. Yeah. Yeah. My last quote that I have is the end of the story. It deals a little bit more about Zhu's grief with her fate. She knew what it was like to face letting go. She remembered that moment of watching Zhu Za's agony while Chen told her to surrender. Her fate in one hand and Zhu Da in the other. Her fate was herself, but Zhu Da was the beloved brother she had chosen for herself. And when the two had been put into balance, it felt like being torn apart. Zhu had always been of the opinion that those who gave up their fates, like the original Zhu Chamba, simply hadn't been strong enough to carry them. She had always been strong enough. But perhaps one's fate was one's means to survival and one's reason to continue. Perhaps when one held it as tightly as she did, and the great Khan did, and Ouyang had. Dang. Giving up was the act that required the greater strength. As she watched the great Khan struggle, she thought it could be the hardest thing in the world. And it's like that, hearing that at the end of the story, it's like, oh my God, is she about to just die? Like give up and die? Where she has this moment of like hesitation where she's never hesitated before, ever. And so there's this moment of hesitation where she's like, maybe letting go is my fate. Oh God, it kills me. It kills me.
What would you say were some of your likes and dislikes?
I will say that I really did like this book. I did not like it as much as I liked the first one.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I really, really love the first one. This book does talk about a lot of really interesting topics that are different than what we got in the first book, which was nice. I was expecting kind of like another, like a rinse and repeat. Mm-hmm. Like we were going to have like the same type of relationship and stuff like that, but it was very different. There was a lot of different
books than the first one.
Yeah, almost like, I wouldn't say the tone was different, but the tone was different.
I wouldn't say that, but piece it together.
Yeah, you figure that out. But there are some things I didn't like. I do think that it was very slow. It felt more like a bridge book than a finale. Mm-hmm. I felt like there was still things that needed to be resolved a page and a half at the end of the book.
Chapter 18 and 19 felt like they were from a finale book.
The structure was very weird. So I definitely think that I understand, but I also wish there was a little bit more time with pacing, structure, time frame, like right in there. Just a little bit more time in that. I still don't understand the mandate of heaven and the ghosts.
Yep.
I will say I did like the scene where they had to kill themselves to get past the ghost.
Yeah.
I thought that was very creative, and I really liked that.
Also, on my dislikes, just put ghosts, ? Because that was my main dislike from the first one, and it did not make any more sense to me in this one.
So the mandate of heaven made a little bit more sense because they finally went into it. So there's actually a line, because the mandate of heaven and the ghost just really don't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. And even in the book, but they're talking about the mandate of heaven, and he says, no historian has ever recorded other strange ability of the mandate of heavens. Emperors don't speak of it. Valjean hadn't even told Seyhan. Why did we not go more in detail about this? If it's so important, because at the end of the book, Jules like, there can't be 2 mandates of heaven, but there was 4 all at the same time.
Always 4 at the same time, and then it would go to someone else, and I'm like...
So, the mandate of heaven, I don't know if I'm just dumb and didn't pick up on anything that they were explaining, but I just could not grasp what the point of the mandate of heaven really was.
Yeah, I mean, if you're dumb because you didn't get it, I'm dumb too, so
okay,
at least we're dumb together, because I, understood at one point who had it and who didn't, I guess. It was some sort of, fire or light or something.
It's a light.
They also had, a spidey sense when someone else had it, but somehow also other people didn't know that they had it, and also, because it was, towards the end, Zhu walked in the room, and they were he sensed it, and I'm like, but no one has done that yet.
Because the ghost thing is, attached to the mandate of heaven. If you have the mandate of heaven, you can see the ghost. But Zhu saw the ghost before she had the mandate of heaven. Or did she always have the mandate of heaven? I don't know, because it wasn't explained enough.
And, my biggest thing is, how did the ghost just, devoured people's souls or something? They,
Dementor, Dementor style.
But they didn't do that all the time. They only did that in the ocean in that one moment. And I'm like, if they could do that, you guys should have been way more worried about the ghosts.
I think it was more those were demonic spirits, or more angry, where everything, because she always talks about how the other ghosts that follow her around are always lost.
Yeah,
they're just zoned out type deal, where these were more angry.
Yeah,
and
just
active.
If this is possible, you guys should all really be a little bit more worried about the ghosts.
Yeah.
Just, hanging around all the time. And it's, I also still don't understand how or why all of those ghosts were around Ouyang, but he tells us in this book he cannot see them.
Mm-mm.
He knows they're there. He can feel them. But he's always surrounded by these ghosts. He doesn't have the mandate of heaven. He never did.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
What, dude?
I don't know. I really wish
Take the ghosts out, and I would have been a big fan. Or only put them in that scene in the thing, and then you're like, oh, this is some crazy thing. He made these ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
Now this boat has to pass through them. Because it's they've been in it the whole time, and they were completely not harmful or threatening. And then all of a sudden, and then sometimes they made a sphere around Ouyang. I don't...
Yeah, it didn't really make sense.
Yeah, I was super confused.
Yeah, and the mandate, I don't know if it was a fantasy element they were trying to put into the story, but it did not deliver on. Again, we went just really dumb.
The mandate of heaven could have been cool if it was just explained better. I understood the underlying concept behind it, I guess, is heaven chose them because that was the main thing, one of the main points of the story.
But you kill people to get it, so it's you're not heaven chosen then.
Exactly.
She killed
a 9-year-old.
Yeah,
she killed a 9-year-old to get it.
So, a couple more things I didn't like. I don't like Ouyang's arc. Mm-hmm. I think he deserved better than what he got, which is crazy to say because he did kill Eason and stuff. But it was weird that we spent so much time building up this character and tearing them apart and understanding them for them to just be and just kind of throw their life away. Unless that's the message they're trying to give, but it's just it was kind of a waste. I think Oyeon should have died at the end. But the fact that he got there, he did all this stuff, they just kind of like, they send him to the thing, and then he just dies, so that way Zhu can have his sword at the end, and then not use it? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I think the arc could have been better.
They did him so dirty, first of all. Mm-hmm. Because he did this all for nothing. There was literally no point to anything he ever did, and that is the biggest slap in the face that you could give a character. Mm-hmm. He had no reason. Mm-hmm. He had no fate then, actually. He had nothing. Yeah. He had nobody, and his dad was alive and then freed from prison.
First opportunity he had to make, not necessarily a friend, but an ally in Zhu, he turns from her because she's a woman. Yeah. And we find out that Oyeon is a woman in this. I think that's the message, though, is that you do all of this stuff and then you still don't achieve it at the end, and it's almost, you're supposed to feel like that.
How are you just gonna do this to him? So, Zhu gets everything that she wants, and basically only loses her brother. Mm-hmm. And he gets nothing, dies,
loses
and has
everybody.
Nothing.
Yeah.
But, like, I get it, he did kill a lot of people and was not a good person. However.
Neither is Zhu, so.
Yeah, none of them are good people. That's the kind of except
the
Ma.
Point. Yeah.
Ma is the best one, and she still killed somebody.
Yeah. So the last thing I have is just like, it's just something that didn't sit great with me, but was the fact that Zhu and Ma both had to sleep with men, and I did not like that.
Yeah.
So that's all I want to say.
Basically, I didn't want to talk about that because I was pissed. But, like...
Yeah, I get Ma's because it's supposed to be like they have a child, because I think Baozhan is the father of all of the children that they have, because they have, like, end up having, like, 5 kids. I think he's the father of all of those kids, because it was going to be Juda, but he's dead. And that's, like, the alliance that they have is his offspring will be the next emperors and stuff. Yeah. But, like, Zhu's was, like, the worst. I hate that. I hated it so much.
Okay, so everything you've done so far didn't matter. Because you're like, oh, still gotta sleep with a man to get what I want.
Do we think Juda is demisexual?
Oh, yeah. Wait, Juda?
Or no, not Juda.
Okay, because I was like...
No, he's the exact opposite. Yeah. Zhu.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. It was like,
I love it.
Ma is the one. She found somebody, and then, like, that even took some convincing. Mm-hmm. Everyone else, she's like... can't be bothered, but whatever. She still did what she thought she had to do, but I didn't like it. Yeah. The last dislike that I had, I think that this book was a little bit too hard as an audiobook. Maybe that's my bad, guys. So don't come after Shelley for that one. But I also think that you do, when you write a book, have to think it's going to be read in all different capacities. I can listen to audiobooks while I do other stuff. I only listen to it at 1.5 speed. Like, it's not anything crazy. So many point of views, and I love that, but I could not tell whose point of view we were in. Almost like there was a couple times where it really felt like it jumped around in, like, the timeline. Some parts, like, when it started the chapter, it felt like it was, like, before. And then I would be like, wait, what? And then I would catch up like, oh, wait, no, they're just, like, referencing something. Bao Zhang he was thinking back. There was one in particular where he was thinking back to when, like, Oyeon killed Isun. It felt like he was, like, in that moment for a minute, and I was like, where am I? And then I was like, oh, it's just like he's thinking back. I liked all the point of views. I think that they added a lot. I'm not mad at them at all. I don't think they should leave. But I think, like, a heads up of whose point of view it is would have helped me a lot. Because I kept getting lost, and then I would be lost for, like, a minute until they said someone's name, and I'd be like, okay. And then I'd have to, like, catch back up and make sure I didn't miss anything when I was trying to be like, who is this? And then I was also just, like, confused a little bit where we were sometimes. So, again, could easily be my fault. Yeah,
this is one book that I can't read and not, like, I need both. Yeah. I need to read
I did not have a hard time with the first book. Like, it was, like, yeah, some of the words and that stuff was, like, dense, but I was following it. I was in it. Yeah. I think it was just the added extra people, all the stuff going on, and then also, like, all of them interacting with each other would make me confused whose point of view it was in, because you would have Bao Zhang with the Empress, and then you'd have Zhu with the Empress, and I'm like, now she's your wife? Like, what? Yeah. Where was the wedding?
Yeah. Why was I invited?
Yeah, it was just, like, the jumping around. Definitely, if you're going to read it, do what Jen did and do both at the same time.
Yeah.
Or read the physical book.
Definitely listen to the audiobook because it's a beautiful narration.
Yes, very good, but read the book with it.
I'll say that I did not have those issues. I was reading the book with it, so being able to like read the names also helped because the names sound exactly the same, but they're spelled differently, so that helps.
And then like sometimes, they would say them really fast, or they would say like where they were at fast, and I'm like,
there was literally one sentence where it was like chew, chew, and chew-da, and I'm like, okay, hold on a second. Yeah, maybe you gotta go through and read it.
And I'm
with
like,
the actual
I don't want to be lost. I want to get it, but now that we did that backwards. What would you say are some of your likes?
So, obviously, the writing style is phenomenal. It's one of my favorite writing, period. I think I said in the last one that Shelley's writing is my writing goals. It's where I want to be in my life, but I will never get there. It's just so gorgeous. Like, the way that they describe something so simple, just the color of something or the texture of something. I love that every chapter started with a description of what it looked like, what the city looked like. They always started a description in the beginning of each chapter because it's just something really simple that is very easy to get lost in everything else, that they take a second to actually have that in there.
And it brings you right into the scene as far as like a movie. A movie, you're going to see the scenery first. You're going to get into establishing shots.
Yeah, establishing shots. So every time I recommend the series, I always say that this is the first book that ever made me think that writing is beautiful. It's just so good. I really enjoyed the characters. I think there's a lot of character development, character growth, and character history. And when I read a book, I always dive into the characters. If you don't have relatable or fun or interesting characters, I don't care. I'm not going to like the book. The characters are what pulls me into the story. It's why I like that Foxhole Court so much, because the characters are so dense and I just love them so much. But yeah, I really like the characters. I loved the way that Oh Young opens up in this one, and we see a lot of their personality. I like to see the way that Zhu kind of breaks down, and we see that a lot. So I really like the found family, obviously. Always.
If you want Jen to like your book, put some found family in
and I'm in.
She is in.
Yeah.
Don't do miscommunication.
Yeah, then I'm not in. The loyalty that Zhu gains with like Ma and Juda and Uchon. I just love the found family. I think it's just one of my favorite. That raw loyalty, and it's so powerful, and it's a great way to keep your characters, like what Ma says, like, don't ask me to do this, I'm gonna do it. Like, you don't have to ask me. I have in all caps women, period. I don't think I need to explain anything there. Just the women are just so great. It's so great having well-written women, and especially women of power.
Yes. But that also have flaws.
They also have flaws. The 5th season by N.K. Jemisin is another great book series with very powerful women in it. Highly recommend. But
we love women on this podcast.
Yeah. So my last two are, I really actually liked Juda's death. I like that he made the call.
Yes.
That he himself.
Seppuku style.
Yeah. He made the call. He chose to die for Zhu. Because I think it would have been 10 times worse if Chen would have done it. As bad as it sounds, I really liked the way that he died.
Yeah.
It was a great moment for them because it was that first time where she had to recognize the actual measure of sacrifice. Because she's never had to before. I think it was very well written, too. Of course, no shock there. And the fact that it was on a pirate ship, come on.
Dope, yeah.
Freaking dope, yeah.
I mean, of course, like, the cover, they had to be on the ship at some point. But...
Right. It did take a while to get there, though.
I know, I was like, are there any boats in this?
They mentioned pirates at the beginning of the book, but then we don't see them until again to the end.
I'm glad that I didn't have the book in front of me, because then I would have kept thinking, like, where are these boats coming in? Okay, so my very last one is the overall encompassing of the fight to the throne. It's a very classic storytelling. Like, you got literally Game of Thrones. And that's a great series in itself, and it does the same thing where it kind of has these different branches that are all going towards the throne. This is almost like more developed than that. You have more hands in the pot than you do in Game of Thrones, and so you get to see a lot more branches. Like, you get to see
the different styles that the men do compared to the women, and you get to see stealthily or by force. Like, there's so many different ways. Zhu doing both. Zhu doing the stealth and like hiding in missions, also having their army go after people. Yeah. I really enjoyed the fight to the throne and political battle of it, but I also just really like stuff like that. Yeah. So
that's not my typical thing, but I did like that as well. I like that you see Chu has the intelligence to know which way she's gonna win. Mm-hmm. Whether she goes the typical man approach at the army, or if she's a little bit more secretive, a little bit. And of course, like, Bao Zhang did that too. He did a lot of the, like, secret. And I think that it also, that played the line of masculine and feminine a lot in the book, is, you know, Bao Zhang was seen as feminine because everybody thought that he was gay.
They weren't wrong.
And then he liked to tell us that he wasn't. And then we were like, okay.
Shout out to the third prince.
I don't really believe you. Well, you can't. He's dead.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, I think that was really cool to see, like, the different approaches and what worked and what didn't. And I think that in the end, the intelligence and the behind the scenes, the games, is what got everybody to the throne rather than the armies and the big wars and, you know, that behind the scenes stuff that they really put the time and the effort into. Like, it won them it every time. Some of my likes, obviously, basically the same ones. The only way I can describe it is in 3 words. It got weirder, darker, and sexual. There's a little bit in the first one.
And you liked that?
I did like that. I liked that it wasn't the same book. Mm-hmm. It was different, and you got to see a different side of some of the people and see how that people used that to manipulate others, because basically it worked every time. I also liked it to show the simplicity of the men versus the intelligence of the women, to know that, of course, for some of them, it meant nothing, and it didn't bother them. And that's crazy. But making them look kind of dumb. And with that, I have a quote from Madame Zhang. She was kind of awesome. "Your surrender will be given correctly. My husband's reputation may precede him, but a weak man, well managed, is a woman's greatest strength." Love that. That's another thing, is even though the women in this world hold no power, they really hold it all. Is, we'll say basically every time the woman got what she wanted by doing what she needed. And the only time that she didn't is if someone was double-crossing her in the back again. And it was usually Bao Zhang, because he was really good at it.
Yeah.
Zhu had her... She was a woman, so that helped her throughout the whole thing. And she also had Ma by her side. But I think Bao Zhang, he just kind of got it. At some point, he was like, I get it. And then he, of course, got consort thing and manipulating and all of that. Looped back in, and at the end, and Ma got him. She just was like, hey, you literally did this and didn't see through me doing it. Which was awesome. I think he got his
dues.
Yes.
Because Ma's character is so... Oh my god, it's such a great tool. It was such a good idea to put Ma into this world, because she is so kind-hearted and breaks the exterior for every single character. Bao Zhan is the entire time like, you know, I don't have any feelings towards these people. The third prince, I'm just using him and things like that. Sure. And then he met Ma, and it got to the point where he's like the same mentality, but then he did start to fall for her. Even in the slightest little bit, I think he genuinely did have feelings. Like, it developed. So yeah, Ma, I think, is probably the strongest person in this thing.
Yeah, she kind of...
She ate.
She kind of played. But yeah, I really like the cost of power message. I don't think it's something that can get old, tropes or messages or anything like that, because I think that it's so relevant always in all of our history of the entire world, and currently. It will never not be relevant. There is a cost to a high amount of power, and you have to be a specific person to be able to pay that cost. And what happens when the cost is too high? You don't want to pay it anymore, or you regret paying it. You can't do anything to change that once you've already paid the cost. It's not my typical thing. Big, like, power struggles, political things, stuff like that is not really what I gravitate towards. But I liked it a lot. I found it interesting. I think that doing stuff like that is always going to be interesting because you'll always be able to show it in multiple ways too, is everybody felt what the cost of their power was or what they've done, that some people thought it was more worth it than others. Mm-hmm. I think in the end, basically nobody thought it was worth it, but...
Yeah. I like that everyone has a different reason for going for it, too. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily just for the political power. There's other personal gains that they want from it. They did very well with the political power of it.
The last things I would say I really liked is they said it in this book a lot. I feel like I've heard this a lot lately for some reason. Like recognizes like, or like calls to like. Is really cool to explore as far as who was actually alike in their actions and their motives, and who assumed they were like someone and then were proven wrong. Mm-hmm. I think that both of those are really cool ways to look at that. And they said, like, I heard them say, like recognizes like, or like calls to like, several times throughout the book. Very relevant, because I think there's a lot of points where some characters are a lot like each other, and they're just acting that way. And then I think there are some characters that are a lot alike. Cool way to connect characters, but also put distance between them as well. Mm. Because, of course, not every character is going to be exactly alike. And there's also people who will try to act a certain way so that you think that you're alike and you can kind of relate to them, have that kinship, and then be blown out of the water by
manipulated.
It. Yeah, manipulated.
No, I think that it's a very powerful tool to use with people change and adapt to get the likability of somebody to betray them later.
Yeah.
To gain trust to betray later. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, usually the guests don't bring in questions.
Right.
I guess it's okay for once.
So, why do you think Oh-young reacted in such a way with learning about Zhu's identity?
Yeah, so Oh-young kind of freaked out and then, like, left. It was like, I'm done. I'm out
Ghosted.
Here.
Oh, wait. So that's what the ghosts are there for.
That makes so much sense. I mean, basically just, like, freaked out and was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. I was kind of pissed because I really liked them working together. I thought it was interesting.
Me too.
I thought it was cool. And I was like, you're being a baby right now. At least from my perspective in it. Could be wrong.
It's just your interpretation, yeah.
I think that he reacted like that because his entire life he had been called pretty, and he hated that. And he hated that everybody thought that he was a woman or feminine. And so I think to see somebody who, I don't know if at that point he respected, but almost started to view as someone who was worthy of the spot they had and, like, of being an equal, actually be a woman, I think it was too jarring for him, of pretending the other way, where he tried so hard to be masculine, and Zhu never really cared. Of course, she wasn't, like, going around telling everybody, oh, I'm actually a woman, and she never, like, tried so hard to be masculine all the time, and wasn't afraid to, like, dress femininely for things, to sneak in and do stuff like that.
She also did a lot of women's job, like the basket weaving. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really think it was just too much for him to handle because he fought against it for so long. That's not me. That's not who I want to be. I was forced to do this. So I think that the fact that Zhu kind of chose that too much for his brain to kind of handle, and he already was going through it, and so he was just like, I can't do this. On top of it is he also just had, like, a general distaste for women because he was trying so hard to distance himself from being one. Mm-hmm. And so I think that he was like, I can't work with you because I just can't deal with being around a woman and working with one who is pretending to be something that she's not. Yeah. What do you think?
Honestly, it boils down to that he got scared. Mm-hmm. Because he was starting to put trust into Zhu, and everything that she had done, almost too much to believe. Correlation of, like, oh, this is a woman and she's accomplishing the things that she's doing. Mm-hmm. It can only get you so far type deal. And there's also that toxic masculinity in with it as well. I do wish there was a little bit more in the book about the abrupt leaving, because it was very unfortunate, because I think we were getting somewhere in their relationship that would have been amazing. Endgame, those two together would have been amazing. Biggest thing was deep down, this is really deep down, and it's a far stretch, but a little bit of jealousy. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily of what she had to gain, but she was becoming a person within herself without having to, like, expose herself.
Yeah, it was, like, comfortable being who she was, but also, like wasn't running from the fact that she was being a woman.
Yeah.
But used parts of it to her advantage
Mm-hmm.
while doing it.
Yeah, because Oyeon has awful anxiety about being a woman, being discovered as a woman, to the point where giving them a dress, and he broke out in like a panic attack.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, General, it's for me!
Yeah,
so,
he was like, you're gonna embarrass me in front of everybody, and she's like, I'm actually gonna wear it, thanks though.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Because she knew that her being like a woman could be used to her advantage, and she knew that because she was a woman. Yeah. So I think a lot of it, though, is jealousy in the fact that Zhu and Juda, they were so close that it was, in his eyes, intimate. Juda did Zhu's hair because Zhu doesn't have a hand, because Oyeon cut it off.
And then they're besties.
And now they're besties.
Crazy.
Yeah. So Oyeon cut off her hand. Juda is doing her hair, and he walks in on that and is embarrassed because he's like, a man should not be touching another man that way. This is before he finds out, of course. And I think there was a little bit of that jealousy because it was a mirrored expression of what was happening with Oyeon. Zhu was a mirror of him, and Zhu was doing it better. He didn't get the opportunity to love Isun the way that he wanted to. I don't know if he ever like truly admitted that he loved him. It was very plain and obvious to see. When he did find out about her identity, it just all came all at once, and it was a very like almost like a panicky situation. But yeah, I really wish we'd explored it a little bit more. Yeah.
But even like Bao Zhang said to his face, I know you loved my brother. Even if you didn't admit it to yourself, we all knew.
Yeah, so it was very interesting. I was very surprised that he just got up and left. He just packed and left.
I gotta go. And they were like, okay, whatever. And I like that they still, like, they didn't come after each other. They, like, had, like, a weird little understanding where they're like, we were gonna work together, and yeah, I kidnapped you and your whole army, but you cut my hand off, so we're gonna, like, equal, and stabbed her. It was, like, pretty rough.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of messed up.
Yeah, it's like, all I did was kidnap you and your entire army. That's really not that bad.
And outed you, like, kind of, a little bit, because I took your clothes. But we'll talk more about Zhu and Oyeon, because I have a lot of quotes I want to mention, so.
In this book, who was your least favorite character? And why was it Rice Bucket?
I did hate Rice Bucket. I hated Zhao, too.
Yes, correct.
Zhao made me angry. Rice Bucket was, like, stereotypically
like,
bad.
gross and awful.
And, what you expect. But Zhao was a plot twist.
Smart.
I was very surprised because once he found out, because obviously we talked about her hand getting cut off and stabbed, so Zhao had to patch her back up, finding out she's a woman and betrays her because she's a woman. Yeah. Ma does kill him, which is great.
Great scene.
With what did she kill him with?
The wire from her hairpin choked him out.
Yeah, and then the servants had to come and move him. Yeah.
And they were all like, it's just another day.
I did not like him. He was a little slut. And of course he was there in the castle or whatever this kingdom is while they're there. Okay, and I'm like, okay. So who's your least favorite character?
Mine was, probably Rice Bucket because
he was awful.
of what he did to his wife.
Yeah.
In the street.
Yeah.
Sick freak.
Shocker.
A lot of the men.
Yeah. Actually, men.
But, like, not Juda.
No, Juda? Yuchen? I liked Oyeon. I don't know.
I mean, yeah. So who was your favorite character?
Mine is as plain as day. It is the obvious choice because Zhu just shined. She is the sun. She became the sun in my heart. I just love how funny she is without trying. She's so determined, and the way that she interacts with Oyeon and the way that she just brushes off any comments that he has. Yeah. She's passionate, but she knows her limits. She knows how far she can go. Like when she kidnapped the boy and they started like draining his blood. She was like, I know you're scared. We have to do this.
She's like, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. I like that she admits that she's wrong. And I think that's what propels her to be who she is apart from a man, because men have a really hard time admitting that they're wrong, especially in this book. She admits that she's wrong. She admits when she messes up, and she asks for help. she asks Oyeon, okay, that didn't work. What do you have in mind? Or when they were doing the archery over the thing and she jumps off the freaking roof.
He's like, hey, idiot. And she's like, oops.
Yeah, she asked for help with that. And then she was like, Oyeon's idea to get the kid from the general. So, as bad as it sounds, I like that we get to see her with that broken spirit at the end. There is this consideration from her that she isn't as strong as she thought she was. Yeah. She will lose some part of herself as she goes. It's almost like she's returning to that part in her life. Like at the end when she becomes like the Empress is like, I don't know, like a maid. I really like that correlation of her going back to how she was at the beginning of the first book, where she has to go back. Yeah, and be a little bit of a little skinny, scrawny kid asking to just live. I think Zhu's ambition and her determination throughout the story is so interesting. I really loved it.
The fact that she is willing to go to that level, because none of these men that were in power would have been willing to go to the level, the actual Khan. He would not have been willing to go to the level of pretending to be a slave or a servant or anything. And of course, he probably wouldn't have been able to get away with it, depending on where he was. But still, like, the thought of, that's not how they go about getting their power, but it worked. The fact that she isn't too power hungry, or it's not too much in her head.
She's pretty power hungry.
She is, but it's not so much that she couldn't do that. Like, she, in this whole book, is a great contrast to the first book, where you're showing again that she can mess up. She can't ask for help. Because in the first book, she's kind of coasting. More towards the end, it's like, oh, she's just getting everything and it's just happening. And in this book, you see her, she still does get what she wants, but you see her fall down a couple pegs of some losses and some...
And if she didn't do that, then this book wouldn't have been nowhere near as good. Because it's like, went through all of this and made no sacrifice, then it's the constant thing of like, you know, was it worth it type deal. And it wasn't realistic if she didn't lose something. I have an interesting take during missed opportunities, so. Who is your favorite character?
Of course I wanted to just say Oyeon because he was my favorite in the first one. And I do really like him. I like his character. I think that Shelley did him so dirty. Literally everything in his life was for no point. Not because I liked them as a person, but their story compelled me the most, was Bao Zhang. His was such like a sleeper story, okay? Like, I did not know why he had a point of view when he first came in. I was like, I remember him from the first book, of course, but it wasn't about him. It wasn't like...
It's about Eason.
Yeah, and so then after he dies, it's seeing like, I really like how he goes about things, how he had revenge in his heart as well. But he also went a little bit crazy from it, and he let things get the best of him, and I don't know, he surprised me as far as how interesting I thought he was. I didn't really love him as a person still. He didn't he did some things that I didn't love. But I think that as a character, he was really interesting. I liked his story. The fact that he did become the Great Khan for like a couple months or something, like a month maybe.
Probably.
Maybe like 2 or 3.
I would say like 2 or 3, because she was pregnant. Like, she was with child, so.
So, like, 2 or 3 months, he was the Khan, but he really didn't care. He wanted to prove he could get there because his family never cared about him and never loved him and all this stuff. And he was never anything that Eason was.
No one believed in him because of how flamboyant he was.
Yeah.
It's another, like, I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Yeah. He shouldn't have used that to his advantage. He shouldn't have tried to manipulate the third prince and everything by doing that stuff. But he did it anyways, and you know what?
And guess who's the Great Khan and who was dead?
For 3 months.
Yeah.
So at least, like, that's a plus.
Yeah.
He did it for a little bit, and then he was like, too much power.
See, it's like, he killed him, but didn't kill him at the same time. Like, it was his fault, but he didn't outright do it.
It was his fault that all of them died.
Yeah.
and he did make a lot of other people do his bidding for him, and then he got the reward in the end, which was cool.
Like, he literally became the minister by killing the other minister.
Yeah, but he didn't really do it.
He did do it because he stole the money. Yeah. He stole the money. He stole the stamp.
The blood was never physically on his hands for these
people.
No,
but his prints were left behind.
Yeah. But he set them all up. where he didn't have to do the dirty work. He set everything up to look good in his favor and then made other people do it once they noticed or caught on. So I think he was really smart, and I thought that was really cool to see how he kind of, like, slithered through there, and how, like, really the only person I remember him killing was Oyoung.
Yeah, that's all I could think of off the top of my head, yeah.
I don't remember him, like, actually killing anyone, which I think is so interesting how, like, in this whole thing, he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna let Khan kill the third prince, and I'm gonna let him also, and basically he's gonna kill everybody, and then I'm gonna take his job. We're gonna take a minute to shout out all of the beautiful, wonderful, amazing Patreon subscribers.
Nick W., Bree P., Ashley A., Tim O., Anastasia R., Janeth P., Emily P., Patrick C., Lori, Mike T., Tracy H., Stephanie A., Sean A., Kim L., Hunter H., Jean C., Jake R., and Lulu.
Thank you guys so much for subscribing, and it means the world to me and Jen that there's a couple people listening. Appreciate you guys. You're the best.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. If you guys want to join the Patreon, get in the shout out, head over to Patreon. Let's go.
Get in there, girl.
Get in there. It's pretty cool.
This note card is pretty full, so let's get it to where it has to be a sheet of paper, okay?
Yeah, I want to scroll.
Yeah, you guys hear it unraveling every time.
Yeah. I have a little quote that I was reading this, and I was like, hold on a second. I don't even know if it's like a real thing or if I'm just projecting. Zhu is saying goodbye to Oyoung and telling the general to move on. Zhu says, I'll find his grave and bury you together. You have no descendants, but I'll remember you. Descendants will remember you. I'll pray for you. I'll make monuments for your names. And then she says, go into your next life. Live it and bear its suffering. Do it again with the life after that and the next. And with each one, find it easier. Until one day, 1,000 years, the force of the universe will bring you and Isun back together to start afresh. And I'm going to say it. Is this not Achilles and Patroclus?
Okay. Okay, yeah.
It's kind of giving Song of Achilles vibe. So,
Google, play Adore You, the cover by Brittany Broski, okay?
I literally stared at that and I was like, it's kind of giving me Achilles and Patroclus vibes. But
fantastic book. If you guys haven't gone and read it,
yes.
That's love right there.
That's another really great. Mm-hmm. I knew him in smell and sound. And I'm just,
I know him by touch alone.
I know him by touch alone.
Okay. It is giving that.
I really need a Song of Achilles tattoo. But
you need a lot of tattoos.
I'm working on it.
You need a Lightning McQueen tattoo.
I'm working on it.
And then Avatar, then Song of Achilles. Did love that. Because I do love that it's like, yeah, to tell him that he will be remembered would mean more to him than anything else. Because at this point he thinks nobody cares, nobody wants him around, nobody, For the person who he cut off their hands and vowed to basically destroy in the end was like, I'll remember you, love you, bye.
Yeah.
I hope that you find your love again in this world. Come on, dude.
Her children, when they are old enough to understand and be like, so who cut off your arm? Be like, let me tell you the story about this man. Sit down.
About this guy. You're gonna love him.
He was your godfather for like a nanosecond.
Do you think that she's gonna tell her kids about when she said, you probably weren't a very fun child, were you? And he said, well, I was a slave.
Yeah.
So that...
Dude, I laughed out loud.
You told me about it already before I heard it, and then when I heard it, I also laughed out loud still. Yeah. Because I was like, it's so funny. Doesn't react, doesn't feel bad whatsoever, just moves on.
Should we just talk about relationship then? Because that's one of my key points.
Guys, obviously the favorite relationship.
I mean, Zhu and Oyoung are kind of they're the ones that are supposed to stand out because they have such a strong connection that they're supposed to be that like huge driving force because it opens up both of their characters so much, especially Oyoung. There is a whole web of things that unravel within their characters and within just the short time that they were together. I couldn't even explain it all in this episode, but there's so much that happens and unravels that it gets a little freaky, but and a little kinky, but not in a bad way, you know. Also, the relationship was just kind of funny, them back and forth together. But I have a couple of quotes here. So I think the biggest thing for their relationship was the fact that Zhu was a woman, Oh-yeon was a woman, but neither of them knew that. So there was these hints of realization, especially from Zhu, because Zhu eventually finds out that Oh-yeon's a woman because of kidnapping him and putting him in a cell. Back when we were talking about the dress situation, and Zhu was like, no, like, this is not for you, it's for me, I'm going to wear the dress. And it says, there was an urgency in Zhu's voice, as if he actually understood what Oh-yeon was feeling, that broke through his haze. Zhu had even taken a few steps forward, as if he thought of grasping Oh-yeon's arm in some kind of, what? Reassurance? Solidarity? Oh-yeon abruptly recalled how Zhu had offered him the opportunity to take a piss in private. Zhu hadn't only realized Oh-yeon's unique lack, but he'd even foolishly taken the risk of extending him courtesy. None of the other men he'd known, Oh-yeon thought awfully, had known what it was like to be different. They never had an idea how it felt to struggle with something they took for granted. He also makes a comment about, like, you know, why would you wear that? It's gonna emasculate you. And she's like, I don't care. It's just a freaking dress. It doesn't change me. And then there's this one. It says, Oh-yeon fires back, you really think anyone's gonna believe someone as ugly as you could be a woman? Zhu rolled his eyes. Ugly women exist.
Yeah, I do love that. I do love that, like, basically everyone was like, she's kind of ugly. But I'm like, okay, we didn't have to be like...
It is prominently announced that Zhu is ugly. Yeah. Like, it is...
I love that. Give me an ugly man character. That's crazy.
We love it. There is these, like, small little tokens as we discover their relationship of Oh-yeon kind of, like, recognizing Zhu more as not necessarily her being a woman, but having these moments of, like, compassion. Mm-hmm. And Oh-yeon's like, okay, that's weird because you're trying to become emperor and you want to have compassion.
Yeah.
Maybe you could change the world type deal.
Yeah.
Oh-yeon says he thinks, we're alike. Oh-yeon had spent his entire life believing he was the only one who felt and breathed as he did. There was nobody who understood what it was like to be him, or who could even imagine if they cared enough to try. Even Isun, who had spent a lifetime with Oh-yeon, hadn't been able to look past his surface to his true self, and yet Zhu understood. Him finding out that she was a woman, there's no way that he didn't know. It was a click, and he was like, okay, my suspicions were correct.
He didn't want to admit it, but I do think he knew. I think there was a couple people who knew, or like who suspected it, and like Bao Zhang said that to Ma at one point. Mm-hmm. Of, do you think that that's a woman? And she was like, no. What? She was like, oh my god,
the money. Okay, my very last quote I have in total of the whole thing, so you guys better get ready. Oh-yeon and Zhu. And Zhu says, I spent the first part of my life being told I was nothing. The world, never seeing my value, would have thrown me away without regret. I'm sure you know the feeling. Even though you had your revenge to cling to, when the world treated you as a thing, didn't you dream of being a person as I did? You and I, General, we're both denied a chance to live freely, let alone be great or have our name remembered. Oh. For simply being who we are. Nobody would lift a finger to change the world for us, to make a place for us. What choice did we ever have but to do it ourselves?
The best quote.
That's save the best for last. I mean, right there, like, you and I, we are the same.
Yeah. She
straight up admits it right there.
And they really are. Of course they have their own things, but they really are the same in a lot of aspects, where nobody wants them to succeed at what they want, and nobody wants to give them a chance. And so they know they have to do it themselves. And of course they go about it different ways. And And Oyoung, unfortunately, kind of lets his win in the end. He gets killed. He doesn't, like, kill himself, but...
But his revenge gets in the way.
Yeah, but his revenge gets in the way. His revenge that he literally didn't need to do. Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Zhu kind of comes out on top. It's kind of showing how, like, one little thing could be the difference between greatness and immense power and...
One mistake, one altered, change idea. If it makes me think of, like, if Oyeon didn't leave Zhu, how different would it have been for him?
Yeah.
All the children, would they have been Oyeon's? Would there have been that respect between them? Would he have died? Would he have betrayed her later? How much? Because the relationship got so intimate. Not intimate, but it got so interesting.
Yeah.
As he tried to find some release for his pain, Zhu took that upon herself as if she wasn't busy.
Yeah, she's like, I guess I got nothing going on. Let me bite your finger off.
Yeah,
basically.
And stab you with all these pins.
Yeah.
If we just could have explored that more, it just makes me think of, like, what would have changed if things would have been different. And that is the whole thing about fate. And that's why I love it. That's why I love stories about fate.
So all things come to an end, including this book.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't love the end.
I also did not love the end.
Basically, my thought is, what was the point? I almost think that the entire sacrifice and everything that she did felt like it didn't matter because she still just got what she wanted. I think that a much, like, braver, bolder choice would have been to give it up. That's the main character. I don't know, it felt kind of flat.
I don't know, I feel like there's no delivery in that. There's no...
Yeah. It just didn't feel like there was a lot of satisfaction in it anyways.
No,
because,
there
like,
wasn't.
She just went up there and then, like, I don't know what she did to him. She with the sword, like, burned his flesh off and then was like, now you're just a man, but you're not the man you were. You're just a man. Pick a different name and live your life. And then sat on the throne. And I'm like, what, dude?
The ending was rough.
Yeah, I think it was a little lackluster. I think, of course, like, just giving it up would have been kind of silly. But I was looking for a little bit more drama, a little bit more... He had Ma by the throat with his knife. And then she had to be like, do I kill him and let him kill her and then I'm the emperor? Or do I more of a choice, more of stakes? Yeah. She really just walked in there and was like, this is mine. And he was like, okay.
It felt like they were getting to, like, the end of a D&D character, and the DM was done. The DM was like, whatever you want to do is fine.
You want to take the ghost sword and, like, burn his flesh and then turn him into a dude? Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sit down. Yeah, go ahead, sit down. You won!
Dude, the Great Khan dying, I thought it was a dream, because it felt so off.
Yeah.
When they were like, yeah, the Great Khan's dead, I'm like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was confusing.
When he died the first time or the second time?
The first time.
Okay. Both times fell off, but yeah. Stop leaving this guy in the throne room by himself.
Yeah, where's the protection for this guy?
Literally, that was the problem both times. This guy's sitting in his throne and gets...
The one part I did like, Yu-Chun's cutting off his hand to pretend to be...
Dude, what a guy.
That's a ride or die. See, these are the loyalties that I'm talking about.
Literally, that they were like, his wound didn't heal well.
Hey guys, editing Jen here. Just realized that the audio had clipped out and we kind of jumped to a different topic, so I just wanted to give you a little bit of a connector. We were just saying that it's kind of weird that the Empress had found Zhu kind of on the side of the road. She didn't have a hand, and it was just really weird that the Empress didn't really, like, connect anything. At least had any suspicion that it could have been Zhu, didn't ask any questions, nothing, just kind of took her and was like, yeah, you're coming with me. So that's what we were talking about. But just wanted to give you a little headway to help connect the episode. I hope you guys are enjoying the episode. And yeah, thank you for listening. Yeah, I just find it interesting that, yeah, they just happened to find this girl.
Yeah,
that's
conveniently had a wooden hand as well.
Well, like, it fell off because in the well.
That's true, but then she had it again. That's how Zhao recognized her.
Was the hand.
Just from the hand.
So she had to go back in and
get it out. She had it
at
some point again.
Yeah.
I don't feel like a wooden hand was super common.
Probably not.
So I think they would have just not had any sort of hand.
But if Zhao knew that, I don't know, it's weird. I just think that it's like no red, like no background checks, no security checks.
She shows up. You're not like, okay, we're fighting someone who's missing a hand that has a wooden hand in its place, and it's conveniently that hand. Also, they're kind of ugly. You're pretty ugly.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they don't know.
You couldn't just be like, "Is your name Zhu?" Just try.
Or just like as you're like turning around, be like, "Zhu, yeah, got him."
Zhu says what?
Spider-Man.
Radiant King says what?
What? Oh no.
I wish there was a little bit better way that Zhu got into the castle, or like impersonated some. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the way that they spun it was like no one pays attention to women, which I guess like I get.
Yeah.
That like hides it to a certain extent.
Her town was attacked by Zhu. Mm-hmm. Suffered the injury from herself.
Yeah, and it's like interesting. Why would you mention that name?
Yeah. To throw them off.
What do you know about
trail.
that name? It's like don't say your own name in front of the enemy if you're pretending to be somebody else. That's just kind of bad logic. Do you want to play a game?
Yeah, I actually brought a game.
That's so cool of you to do that.
Yeah, I was like, might as well like switch it up.
Yeah, and that's like, perfect because I forgot to prepare a game today.
Oh, you're not a very good host.
No, I'm not.
So we all know that the Empress was a big fan of birds.
Oh, no.
So she did love a good bird. And I said, that's a great angle to a game. So yes. I have some bird facts, and you're just going to tell me if it's true or false.
Okay, I can do that. 50-50
yeah, you got a 50-50 shot.
I thought you were about to like show me a picture of a bird. And be
so
like,
what bird
is this?
Yeah.
I was gonna be like,
it's just Willie. Just Willie over and over. Different angles of Willie. Statement 1. Mm-hmm. Hummingbirds are the only birds that can fly backwards. True or false?
True.
True. The most intelligent bird is a raven.
True.
False.
Is it a crow?
It's an African gray parrot.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, but like ravens are like second, right?
Ravens are like definitely top 3. Yeah.
That makes sense. The African gray, they can speak.
Yeah. The smallest bird is a winged ant, clocking in at 5.5 centimeters in length.
God, that feels way too specific to not be true. Let's say false.
False, yep.
Okay.
It's the bee hummingbird. And it is 5.5.
They're so small.
Yep. In 1932, Australia declared war on 20,000 emus and lost.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. That literally couldn't be false. That sounds like the most Australia thing.
I have a link too if anybody needs it.
Please post a link.
Some albatross are lesbians.
Oh, that's interesting. Let's say true.
True.
I want it to be true.
Yep. Birds can sweat through their feet and beaks.
False.
Yep.
Birds
don't sweat.
They just are wet.
They're wet.
Inside their body only.
Falcons, closest relatives, genetically, I guess, are hawks.
I think that's false.
It's parrots, which is crazy.
Guys, I actually am a bird expert. I forgot to tell you.
Songbirds have 2 vocal cords, so they can sing 2 notes at once.
I'm going to say true.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds dope.
Yeah.
Can you play one?
So, ready? You go high, I go high.
You said you go high, I go high.
Yeah, we both go high.
Oh, okay.
All right, yay!
That was pretty good. I only got 1 wrong.
Yeah, they're not too bad.
Guys, I'm so good at bird facts.
Are there anything that you would have done differently, would have changed if you were writing this book and it's purely your own opinions?
Yes, I have 2 things.
Okay, do them.
Number 1, make Ma the emperor.
Yes.
I'm not messing around. This isn't a joke, okay?
Yes.
That would have been a suitable ending. Zhu is like, you know what? And then like puts her hand out and then Ma sits on the throne instead. That would have been my brain. Okay?
Yeah.
Second option, skeleton army like in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Why did nobody do that if you had the ghost power to devour like unbeatable army?
Like, why didn't she turn any of them onto her side?
Like that other guy, he's got halfway there by putting him in the water.
Yeah.
But bro, make him march. Stupid.
Get them all up in there.
Immediately game over. Just like in Lord of the Rings. It was basically game over when the skeleton
Well, I guess
army
like
came out.
Shelley didn't want to get copyrighted.
Because Lord of the Rings it's like a little bit well known, you know? A couple people know about it. It's kind of popular.
Kind of like this podcast. A couple people listen to it.
Yeah, a couple people listen to it. A couple people watch that movie. So,
yeah.
But
probably
both of those things, story would have been somehow 10 times better.
Way to tie in the mandate of the heavens and
it would have made more sense.
And put the ghosts into the actual, like, plot, because they didn't pan out at all.
Put the ghosts to work. They're not doing anything else.
Yeah. I think it would have been, oh god, if Eason had to be the one that killed Oyon.
Yeah,
like,
he's the commander of the skeleton army.
Yeah.
Dope. As hell, actually.
Yeah. Or Judah.
And then Ma is the emperor commanding the army. It's just that simple.
It's a good thing that Judah didn't come back and haunt.
Oof.
True, because that would have sucked.
Maybe he does, and we just don't need to know about it. What do you think they missed?
So I have 2 as well. The ending, they should have spent more time hiding on the inside. I thought that was way more compelling than, like, random tours. Not battling, but battling, because you didn't see any of the battles.
Yeah, it was
so,
just like they were fighting and then it was over.
Yeah. So I think we could have spent more time with Ma and Valjean. We could have uncovered more things. A more of, like, internal mission after Oyon left. We just flipped there and spent, like, a much longer period of time. Because then we would have gotten attached to Valjean in a different way, because the way that he acted towards Ma was very different than he had acted towards anybody. Mm-hmm. So then when we got to the point where Ju was there and had to kill Valjean, then you're, like, torn, because you're like, wait, I kind of like Valjean now, but I want Ju to get her fate. So now I'm like, oh my god, I'm torn. I don't know which one to pick.
And then you just picked Ma as the emperor.
Right.
Both of our things would work really well together.
Yeah. But with the actual story plot that we have, I said that Ju should have lost everything. Ma, the child, her other hand.
An emperor with no hands? That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, the ultimate sacrifice is losing everything. She should have lost everything because losing her brother was just not enough.
Yeah, like she lost Judah, and of course that was awful and devastating for everybody. But Oyon lost it all and got nothing, so maybe we should make it a little more fair.
Yeah.
Lose more than it all if you're gonna win.
Yeah.
It's time to go. But first, we rate the book. But on this podcast, we do things a little bit differently.
What podcast is this?
The Book Stop. Found on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube.
It's anywhere you can listen to a podcast. Except for YouTube.
Except for YouTube.
Because you have to put on video.
Guys, I'm trying to convince her to do video podcasts next year. Maybe one special edition.
No, absolutely not.
She's not going to do it.
I'm not editing that.
I'll do one without her and post it on the channel.
Okay.
So, we do things a little bit differently here, and we make up our own thing. So, I would rate He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. Actually, can I first do a correction? Because I re-listened to the She Who Became the Sun podcast, and for some stupid reason, I rated that book a 4.5. And I deeply regretted it. So I want to first change my rating.
On the other one?
For She Who Became the Sun to a 5 out of 5. Because what was I thinking?
I remember that. Because you were like, I don't give out 5s because I might, yeah.
And I'm a liar because I've rated almost every book a 5. Except, like, American Chillers. Okay, I'm sorry. I lied. It was a 5 out of 5. So I'm going to now rate He Who Drowned the World 4.5. lettuce dresses out of 5. I don't know what it is about the lettuce dress. It kind of spoke to me. I really wanted one. And I did find a lettuce dress on Instagram, but I don't think it's the one he was wearing.
You do know it's not made out of lettuce, right?
Yeah, I know. Okay. It just looks like lettuce.
Okay.
It just looks like lettuce. It was not made out of lettuce, in case you guys were confused. But I had to change that one because I don't think that this book is exactly the same rating. She Who Became the Sun, because of course I do think that book was better. I enjoyed it just a little bit more. I really liked the plot and the different elements that were added in this book, how you saw the characters grow and change, but 4.5 out of 5.
I mean, it's still a pretty good rating.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Yeah, I cannot believe you gave She Who Became the Sun 4 stars.
I was feeling pretentious that day, I guess. I don't know, because I listened to the podcast and was like, I don't know who I think I am right now. It's obviously a 5.
So I gave this book 4 generations until Isun and Ouyang reincarnate as Achilles and Patroclus, just to have a more devastating fate out of 5.
And you know what? Wait, when did that happen? No, that happened before this.
Yeah.
Dang it.
So.
Because that would have been crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know.
When was Greece? Can you just tell me? When was Achilles alive? Because how crazy. Conspiracy theory.
12 BCE. When was the Mongolian Empire?
It was the Ming Dynasty, technically, is when she started.
Yeah, that one's obviously 1368. Yeah, so I guess Achilles and Patroclus reincarnates into Isun and Ouyang.
Yeah, I guess we have to do it backwards, unfortunately.
And then, so they would reincarnate today
as Nick and Charlie from Heartstopper.
I really enjoyed this book, and I just love the writing so much, but this one did take me a little while to get through, and I'm not sure. It took me, I started it a while ago, and I just stopped reading it right around when Ouyang joins the gang, and I restarted reading it, obviously, for the podcast, and I had a hard time getting through it, because I was just and it's not necessarily because I didn't want to read it, because I did, but I think that it was just, the pacing was so off that I was I just felt like nothing was happening for so long. So, anytime that Zhu wasn't on screen, I was okay, I'm gonna put the book down. And then I just,
I lost interest.
Yeah, it was sad, because, that's the biggest downfall when you do points of view, is that you get attached to one person or a group of people. Yeah, so, you go to someone else and listen to their point of view, you're, not paying attention as
boring,
much.
skip.
Yeah, and I'm okay, I want to get back to Zhu. And I would literally look through the pages, and when I would be back with Zhu again, because I'm I don't care about Lady Key and the Third Prince and all this. I want to get back to my girl.
Yeah,
so
it was interesting, and I think it was necessary, but I did feel the same thing, where I wasn't, as compelled to, keep picking it up and wanting to read it as with the first book, as I didn't want to stop reading that. Because I was this is so cool, this is so good, and of course, this book is still really good. 10 out of 10 title for both of them. Yeah. I mean, I think that alone, compelling enough should make anyone want to pick it up.
Yeah, and gorgeous covers. I mean,
yes.
The British version is one of my favorites. I want a copy of the British so bad, but
if anybody wants to get John a birthday present, who's listening to the Bookstop podcast, I'll send you our address.
Yeah, get that for me. Honestly, might be because when we read She Who Became the Sun, it was fresh and new, and the writing style was so unique and gorgeous, and we were so taken away by it. But now, going in this one, we kind of expected it. There was more stakes involved, so there was almost this pushback, because I didn't want to see what happened, because I was scared that Shuda would die, but that would never happen, so... Wait. What?
Everybody died in this book.
Oh.
Except Zhu, Ma, and Baoxing. Literally every other character died.
Well, not Yu-chan. His hand just died.
I just keep forgetting he exists, and I'm sorry. Thanks for coming on my podcast. This is my first and only episode.
Wonderful host for my birthday.
I'm the new host. I'm the host every week.
She takes it every single week. Every week? Oh my god.
I didn't mean to say that.
Every month.
Oh no, what I just commit to.
Yeah. If you guys want Sabrina to start her own podcast, interact with this episode, share, subscribe.
What do you guys think my podcast should be about, too, if you want me to start one? Because you can't just be start one. I need some ideas I can plagiarize from you guys.
Yeah, if you go onto the Patreon, her phone number is actually in the last episode we did.
It is. I did share that.
In the unedited version. So if you do want to text her some ideas or, ask for money, you can do that.
I would prefer if you didn't do this. Now, if I did get a random text message being you should start a podcast about, and then insert idea, I would maybe be scared, but it also is my fault, because I did say my phone number. My actual phone number.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And
of course.
We don't have anything else scheduled for this year, because you've already been on twice this year.
Because, by the time you guys hear this one, you're going to be really excited to find out in 2 weeks.
Roughly, yeah.
10 days.
Yeah.
Then there'll be another one with me. Then that one's amazing and fantastic, just like this one. and we're reading the greatest book series known to man.
Yeah.
So definitely check that one out. And then afterwards, you're going to be sad because I won't be on for the rest of the year.
That is true. But she could start her own podcast.
Yeah, and then nobody will listen to it.
That's not true. A couple of people will.
A couple of people will.
And that's all that matters. All right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Love you guys. See you. Bye.
Thank you for turning the pages with us today. If you've enjoyed this episode, show your support by leaving a review, sharing the episode, and following the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast. Join us on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Hope you are too.